Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where we look at how technology can transform businesses, entire industries, and indeed your world. But at a time where a global pandemic is forcing us all to work differently and think differently, I also think it could be a great opportunity to share the challenges that every business and every employee, every individual are dealing with right now, but learn how together we can all leverage technology to get through this period of unprecedented uncertainty. In short, in a world of doom and gloom, let's see what we can fix together and keep things positive. So today I've invited John Lincoln onto the podcast, and he's the CEO of a company called Ignite Visibility, and they're one of the top digital marketing agencies, not to mention a 2017, 18, 19 Inc. 5000 company. And John himself is consistently named as one of the top marketing experts in the industry, and he's been the recipient of the Search Engine Land Search Marketer of the Year award. And he was also named the #1 SEO consultant in the USA by Clutch.co, and even most admired CEO under 40. And if that's not enough, he's written 2 books, The Forecaster Method, Digital Influencer, and 2 movies, SEO the Movie and Social Media Marketing the Movie, all on the subject of digital marketing. So yes, we are all going through the same challenges at the moment, but with a bit of positivity and some great insights, let's see if we can turn this ship back in the right direction. So let me beam your ears all the way back to the US so we can speak with John Lincoln, CEO of Ignite Visibility. So a massive warm welcome to the show, John. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hey everybody, John Lincoln here. I'm CEO of Ignite Visibility. Been running the company for 7 years. I'm a digital marketing expert. And, I really try to take a multi-channel approach to all different types of digital marketing. So whether it be email, whether it be SEO, whether it be paid media, whether it be social media, I like to set up cost per acquisition frameworks and help people scale from one place to another. So I've been doing this about 20 years and have worked with huge companies, little companies, started my own websites and helped, the biggest websites in the world. And I just absolutely love it. So I'm super passionate about digital marketing. We've got about 90 full-time employees in San Diego. We're a 3-time Inc. 5000 company. And just gets me excited helping people through my skill sets in digital. So I think a lot of people, see me on the search engine marketing, content marketing, and paid media side. And that's a big part of my skill set. But really, I just like to help people out however I can.
And that passion really comes across. And there's so many different reasons that I'm excited to get you on the podcast today. And like I said, you are the CEO of a 3-time Inc. 5000 company. But it's also worth pointing out, I think, that also a digital marketing advisor to some of the biggest names in business. And just a few names I can mention here: Tony Robbins, Morgan Stanley, Fox, USA Today, and so many more. But I've got to ask, what are the biggest lessons you've learned from working with some of these big names?
Well, over the last decade or so, more and more people have been coming online, and they didn't really know exactly how to do it, but they had massive skill sets. So what I've learned is that nobody really understands fully how to set up the perfect digital strategy. And the other thing is just always evolving. Like, it changes every single week. And that's why every week I read the news. That's why every week I go over all the latest updates in digital marketing. And then, I found that it's been really hard for people to actually prove value and show the exact, KPIs and cost per acquisition and tie that all together for a massive organization. So what I like to do is I like to come in and bring absolute clarity to people. I like to, because I'm an MBA in finance, and I believe that just translates over so well to digital marketing. So I can show you exactly, if you do this project, you're going to get exactly this. And this is the KPIs, this is the strategy, this is the timeline. So there's just a lot of not a lot of clarity with a lot of digital marketing programs and not a lot of experience, because it's really evolved daily over the last 3 to 5 years to become, the biggest marketing channel, one of the biggest and most reliable marketing channels. So what I've learned is there's a lot of different ways people go about doing stuff. There's a lot of different places people can spend their money. There's a lot of different places people can waste their money. There's a lot of people out there who are kind of selling smoke and trying to get people into different networks and things like that actually don't get them a good return. So what I really like to do is study every day, all day, and then bring that clarity to companies and help them put in place reliable programs that allow them to scale efficiently. And then if they're broken and not scaling efficiently, I'm able to go in and I'm able to show exactly where the breaking points are in the system so that we can fix them and then get them back on a growth path. So, the bigger companies get, the harder it is for them to kind of put things in place. I've definitely seen that as an issue. And it's harder to, kind of rely on certain things. So I've consistently just worked to kind of make it so that, digital is a reliable channel that anybody can go to and get a return.
And every business, and indeed every listener to this podcast, is going to be affected by the coronavirus pandemic, which has created a whole new level of uncertainty across the world. So I've got to ask, how are you dealing with these challenges at the moment?
Well, let's think about it for a second. Okay, so I actually felt like we were going to have some type of event for the last 3 years. Maybe you did as well. I'm not sure. But literally 2 years ago, I forecasted, what something like this would look like, some type of pullback, not a corona type of thing. I had no idea it was going to be this. But here's what's going on. So I knew that there was going to be an economic pullback. And then a lot of people were going to want to have more reliable marketing and all that. So, look, sports in the U.S. is canceled right now, right? We're seeing that live events are canceled. We're seeing that, not a lot of people are outside. That hurts billboards. That hurts all different types of advertising. So what just happened is, I believe for the first time ever, digital marketing is just more and more important than it's ever been before in the history of the entire world. And I'm not just blowing smoke. Let me tell you why. More people are online right now than they have ever been. They're sitting there, they're glued to their phones, they're looking for the latest update. They're trying to find community on social media. They're watching videos. People are going to be out of their jobs. And so, what's happened there is the inventory has gone way, way up. So there's way, way more people now who are on every single different type of ad network that's out there. And a lot of the competition in some cases has pulled back. People, they saw these spikes, these things going down, they got gun shy, they pulled back. What I really feel like is people need to be thinking about what's their 3-year plan now, and then setting up reliable digital marketing channel cost per acquisition solutions from a virtual perspective as much as possible. So I've been coaching a lot of people over the last 30 days. How do you bring as much of your business online as possible? Is it a virtual offer? Are you doing online education? Are you doing coaching, via Zoom? And how can you set up the mechanisms through digital marketing to make that work? And how can you get these mechanisms in place at a third of the cost that had to be in place before, because the media is so much larger? And we're actually seeing some industries doing really, really well. So any type of online education, any type of software as service, that's specific industries for the software as service. We're seeing, this one I'm not a huge fan of, honestly, but guns and ammo and survival and stuff like that. People are learning about stuff like that. I don't know, exactly the details there, but I have seen some spikes there. But, essentially what I've done is, found a list of all the industries that are doing well. And that's been pretty interesting. So coaching people to kind of target those industries, put in place cost per acquisition frameworks to keep their business afloat. And those are some pretty important things I think people need to be thinking about at the moment.
And are there any other big conversations that you're having with your clients and how you're helping them overcome these similar challenges?
Yeah, so I think, there's kind of 3 different things, so somebody might have a gut reaction and make a big decision. Somebody else might have a gut reaction and then a gut reaction the other way. So they're waffling back and forth. And then there's somebody else who's thinking long term. I mean, think about this, okay? This is competition could potentially thin out in some areas. And I just think the biggest thing for everybody to think about right now is plot the next year, plot the next 2 years, and think about realistically, what is that timeline going to look like, right? So For example, and I don't know the exact timeline, but say 5 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, we start getting a couple glimmers of good news, right? And then 30 days, 60 days, there's more good news, so on and so forth, right? You're going to be set up in a good position so that you can continually scale out of this. And then what they're saying here in the US right now is they're saying that they believe Las Vegas, which is completely shut down right now, which is completely unheard of, is going to have a really, really big Q3, Q4. So I'm actually very encouraged talking to so many different business owners because they're entrepreneurial, they're optimistic, and they feel like Q3, Q4, maybe the end of Q2 is going to be really, really positive. So what people are looking to do now is, keep in place a good foundation and keep your foot on the gas as much as you can, and then get ready for full bookings, get ready for, a big up and to the right towards the end of this year and certainly next year. So I don't want to go into all the details of what could happen with the Corona thing and, medical things that could happen. But, they're working on it, right? There's a lot of smart people. Essentially, the whole world is wrapped around a problem right now. I believe we're going to crack that code. And then businesses who make it through this period and do so in a way that they can maintain some virtual revenue are going to have a good return at the end.
And I'm also quite fascinated by everybody is working from home now. They maybe weren't doing so before, but now even the biggest technophobes are embracing Zoom and the different ways of working and maybe embracing technology a little bit more. And as this is a tech podcast, a question I'd love to ask you is how businesses can evolve with the new world of SEO, and by that, I mean things like voice search, personal assistants, Google Discover and ads, etc. Because there's some big changes here, isn't there?
There is, yeah. On the SEO side, there's some huge changes. I mean, and quickly on your point about, working from home. So I highly recommend everybody, do Zoom calls, do video conferences, have an event, have a virtual event for all of your customers, right? Help them work through this and be there for them and all that. Now, on the SEO side, there's been huge, huge changes. The biggest thing that happened was there was this thing called the BERT update. And the BERT update made it so that everything was based off of intent instead of keywords. And that happened in November of 2019. So we've completely reshaped the way that we do SEO at Ignite Visibility. We are the #1 ranked SEO company in the United States on almost every industry list out there. Clutch.co is the best B2B rating website out here in the US for all you people over the pond. And we've got the #1 spot there. And one of the reasons is we have developed this amazing framework that essentially looks at search intent. It looks at the exact type of content. It reverse engineers exactly what's ranking #1, and then helps create a system that has exactly what Google wants to see. So some of the things that you need to think about in there is Google's not really just looking at the keyword anymore. They're looking at everything kind of as an entity, right? So a web page now, will have a keyword associated with it, but it'll also have maybe 3 to 5 different concepts associated with it that Google has to see. It'll have 3 to 5 different related questions that Google has to see. It will have a specific framework for the way that you set up things for voice search and for featured snippets. If you don't know what a featured snippet is, when you do a search in Google, whether it's with your voice or whether it's with a keyword, a lot of times, you'll see something get pulled out at the top of the page that might be 60 to 70 characters. So you can make that happen if you're on the first page of Google. If you're on the first page of Google, you have a good opportunity to make that happen by basically creating a heading with a keyword in it and then putting in a certain character count underneath that, usually 60 to 70 words. And then you can kind of force getting that position. And then that makes it so that you can get a lot more visibility through voice search. You can get a lot more branding. So what we've done is we've systematized and processized all of these different new ways to do SEO. It's really changed. And another thing to keep in mind is, with voice search, now have Google Actions, which are really, really powerful. And you have a lot of different types of schema.org, one of them being speakable markup. So with speakable markup now, you can actually mark up a web page and you can tell Google what you want to speak back to people. And so the level of sophistication in search has completely changed. And I think a lot of people feel like, oh, maybe, it's not what it used to be. I always say it's not what it used to be. It's way more complicated. If you're not approaching it right, you're probably not going to have a lot of success.
And what got me thinking a couple of days ago is, yes, more and more people are working from home now, but I did wonder how many people will be using voice assistants from Amazon and Google and to manage their home entertainment, their home lighting and their heating in the comfort of their own homes, and what that will do to make us more comfortable with our voice searching. So it got me thinking, if we fast forward a few years, businesses that are currently on the first page of Google, could they actually end up being invisible in a new world of voice search? And do you think those that don't take it seriously and those new SEO practices, do you think they could eventually get left behind?
I do. So I think the future is actually integrating directly with Google. So all these different types of schema and different ways that you can integrate with Google, they're actually, it's like plugging in, directly to Google, right? Like sticking a cord in a light socket, that makes this feature. Stick this cord in this light socket, that makes that feature, right? Or USB drive, whatever type of analogy you want to use. So what we've done is we've mapped every single type of Google feature that they have out there. There's about 36. And then what we've done is we've mapped all the different ways that you can impact each one of them, right? And there's about 25 that you can directly impact. And then what we've done is we've created systems for websites to directly integrate with them. And it's just changed so much because, what happened, Neil, is like 2 or 3 years ago, and even now, a lot of these companies are just doing the same thing. They're just trying to build links and they're writing content. Okay, I'll build 50 links for you in a year and I'll write 50 pages of content. I mean, that to me is just very, very basic, and you won't have a lot of success there. So, what people need to be thinking about is, what's that exact featured snippet that I want to get and how am I going to get it? What else is showing up there? Is videos the main thing that's being returned? Is images the main thing that's being returned? If so, then why aren't you optimizing for multimedia? Why aren't you creating a video sitemap? Why aren't you creating video schema? Why aren't you, getting, video ratings and all of that, right? So all of those things that invoke that. Are there brands that are featured by Google that are actually in the carousel at the top? Well, if that's the case, then you need to figure out what's pulling in that brand list that's being delivered there, which is actually very easy to do, right? So every single feature in Google has a different level of optimization, and it's just way beyond at this point keyword landing page. And so it's just important that people understand that. Now, keyword landing page, that's still a thing, and that still can work, but there's just so much opportunity more than ever before to be more sophisticated than your competition in the way that you go about the SERPs.
And I also think there'll be many businesses and business leaders feeling incredibly vulnerable right now, and equally employees feeling the same way are going to realise it's never been easier to build their own side hustle. And one of the things that I noticed when I was researching you is you have quite a following on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and a blog that has over, I think, close to 200,000 readers a month. So what advice would you offer to anyone listening, whether it be an individual or a business, that wants to build their own following in a similar manner?
100%. So anybody can do it, right? I mean, I've been going at it for a while. I do have a big following, for my industry as an internet marketer. And I actually wrote a book on it 2 years ago. It's called Digital Influencer. You can find it on Amazon. It's like $10, and it's exactly what I did to build my following. And I highly recommend you check it out. It's also on Audible. But basically, what you want to do first is don't just go try to build a following on Twitter. What you want to do first is think of all the different audiences that are out there online that you want to impact around a goal. So what's your goal? Well, my goal is always to help people through digital marketing. We've got 150 digital marketing clients. I like to get in clients, build programs and stuff like that. So if I think to myself, well, where are all my clients, right? Well, my clients listen to some podcasts, right? My clients read Search Engine Land. They read Marketing Land. They read Forbes. They read Inc. They read Entrepreneur Magazine. They read Business to Community Magazine. So I became a contributor on all of those, right? So that I could get in front of everybody there. They read blog posts. What do they read blog posts on? Well, they read blog posts on specific topics related to the services that I sell. So I mapped out every single topic that they would ever want to read within the entire, ecosystem of digital marketing around my services, and then essentially looked at the ones that would have the highest return to the least highest return, and then also looked at the level of competition within Google for them, and then wrote blog posts on all those things. I found out that people were on LinkedIn, so built up a large, LinkedIn following. Same for Twitter, same for YouTube, and consistently teach classes on YouTube and things like that. But what I always tell people is, and a lot of people don't believe me on this, but I think it's really, really important. The first thing is, like, if you're looking to just start right now, just start with a blog, okay? Because you just need a home. And, maybe content marketing is getting more crowded and everything, but if you're going to do a podcast, you're going to do YouTube videos, you want to kind of have that all centralized in one place that you can drive people back to, so you can capture email addresses, do push notifications, you can get them on your remarketing list, and you can eventually get them to complete a form so that you can get a conversion. So start with a blog. If you're just starting one right now, like you just got laid off, I'm sorry about that, but check this out. You can just go to WordPress. You can literally sign up and have a website up and running on your own domain name. That's a great site on a template in 30 minutes, right? And that's going to cost you, maybe $50 a month, no big deal. And you can get started. You can build out all your profiles and then just start writing a couple blogs a week, making a couple videos a week, interacting with other people, mentioning other people, tweeting to people whenever you mention them, and then just scale it continually over time. I mean, that's exactly how Ignite Visibility started. It all started with a blog. 7 years ago, started doing a blog a day. It was like a couple blogs a week, and then just have scaled it and scaled it and scaled it and scaled all the content. And it has turned out to be really good for us. We've made a lot of connections, friends, and stuff like that. So let me know if you have any more questions on that point, but happy to talk more about it.
Well, you mentioned your book, The Digital Influencer, there, and I think you also wrote another book called The Forecaster Method. And so can you tell me a little bit more about that and how it also tackles the changing digital marketing landscape? Because there's some great value in that too, isn't there?
There is, yes. So The Forecaster, basically both books are kind of different phases in my life a little bit in some ways. So Digital Influencer was how I kind of became an influencer on some level and then wanted to help other people become influencers. The Forecaster Method is now, that I'm working with generally businesses that are 2 to 5 million or more. And then most of our clients are, not most, but many of our clients are even billion-dollar businesses, right? So what I've seen that's unique that I don't think many people have seen is I've seen everything from that WordPress site that I just told you about it a minute ago, all the way up to a $10 billion marketing campaign where you've got 50, 60 people in the room, and you're doing sports and TV and radio and programmatic and Bing and YouTube and display and native and like all the different things that you could mention, right? So what I did in the Forecaster Method is I plotted exactly what it looks like from beginning all the way up to the billion-dollar company. And that was really helpful for me. One of my biggest clients is the Not Worldwide, and they are a huge billion-dollar company conglomerate of wedding websites, and literally the best people I have ever met. And I really mean that. They've got great hearts and all that. I've seen them. I started working with them 10 years ago, and now they're a billion-dollar company. And so the book talks about how all these different companies have collectively scaled their digital marketing programs and set up reliable structures. When did they start with which channel? When was each channel impactful? How did they set up a model to scale it? And then what percentage of revenue is that? How did they continue to reinvest in that? How did they refine and lower their cost per acquisition and increase their conversion rates and get to a point where essentially they're converting traffic for less? Because that's really the future, right? There's just going to be more and more competition. So whoever can convert traffic for less has a huge competitive advantage that they can use for their products, for their services, for their employees, right? All of these different things. So the Forecaster Method, in a nutshell, is a specific framework where you never have more than 30% allocation in any type of digital marketing channel, right? Never more than 30%. And your best 3 to 5 channels, and you set up a cost per acquisition that works with your business model. It's never too expensive, and it's got a return that makes sense for you. You allocate somewhere between 7 and 15% of revenue to your marketing, and then you scale marketing first so that the business follows. And it's essentially what we've done to be a 3 timing 5,000 company, right? We've set up very reliable lead generation funnels. And I just want to help other people do that because it's never, ever been easier than now to set up reliable digital channels. And it's just so much better than some of this other stuff out there, in my opinion.
And anyone that's listening to our conversation today, completely locked down and made that fatal mistake of getting hooked on those rolling 24-hour news channels, they're probably feeling like we're in this huge period of uncertainty at the moment and struggling to see light at the end of the tunnel. So can you give me a bit of an antidote to that and tell me what makes you optimistic about the future?
Oh my gosh, be optimistic, people. I mean, I'm an optimistic person. We're going to get through it. There's no question about it, right? And obviously, like, I got a lot of passion and heart, but I know that we're gonna get through this. So I would just say, think about more long term, right? Think about everybody's going through the same thing right now. Think about this as being just a blip in time. So for me, I know that everybody's going to come out of this stronger. And I would just tell everybody, if you're locked in and refreshing and looking at the news, personally, I feel like I would limit yourself to doing that maybe once or twice a day. In the meantime, focus on something that's going to give you energy and positivity and things like that. There's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, the one thing I'll say on that is all of my clients right now, nobody's thinking like pull out, done forever, right? And you shouldn't be thinking that way too. And I'm not. What you should be thinking about is what's your comeback story, right? What's Q3, Q4 going to look like? How are you going to turn this around? How good is it going to feel when you turn it around? And what can you learn now and do now that's going to help you get there?
Fantastic advice. And before I let you go, for anyone listening that wants to keep that positivity going, I'd like to find out a little bit more information about the work that you're doing, check out your books, your website. Can you just point them in the direction of how they can do that?
Sure. You can check out johnlincoln.marketing or ignitevisibility.com/blog. And then you can follow me on Instagram, John Lincoln Marketing. I make free digital marketing classes a couple times a week on the Ignite Visibility YouTube channel. But just a quick Google search and you'll find me online. I'd love to connect with you on wherever you like the most. But good luck, everybody. Just wishing everybody the best in this time. I just want to know, I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I think we're going to get through this. And if you need anything, please let me know. I'd love to help you.
Fantastic. I've loved chatting with you today. There's so many big value points that I'll be taking away, but you really set a few alarm bells off in my head a few moments ago, because like I said, we are in this moment of uncertainty. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I completely agree with that line that you used a few moments ago. But people should be focusing on what is your comeback story. So I do urge everybody listening to focus on that comeback story and maybe come on here and share it with us too. But more than anything, just a big thank you, John, for sharing that with us today.
Thanks, Neil.
I cannot thank John for coming on the podcast today and talking about how they help improve your online presence and increase your bottom line as a result. But not only that, for sharing some of the challenges that they're going through at the moment and overcoming this awful period of uncertainty, which I think every single listener will be going through at the moment. So if you've got any big challenges at the moment, I know you all have, please, there's an open invitation for you to come on this podcast, share your ideas, insights, expertise, whatever it may be. Equally, if you've got any questions that you just want to throw out to everyone listening, we can do that as well. So whether it's on this podcast or away from the podcast, you just feel like a chat with myself, whatever it is, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can find out more information about me over at techblogwriter.co.uk. If you scroll to the bottom, you will see all the social links. If you go up to the top and go to podcasts, you'll find links to over 1,100 interviews. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did, but I will return tomorrow with another guest. So thanks for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.